Conversations That Matter is a partner program of the Center for Dialogue at Simon Fraser University. The production of this program is made possible thanks to the support of the following and viewers like you. Welcome. Thanks for joining me. We, of course, every day live in a more interconnected world. And that interconnectivity gives us tremendous advantages, but it also makes us more vulnerable. And we keep hearing, you got to be safe, you got to do these things to protect your kids and so on. But how diligent are we at actually making sure that our computer remains in our control rather than somebody else's?
That's a great question. And for me, I always like to give sort of two answers. One is we can always be more diligent with it, but a lot of people think that they have to go to the nth degree, that they have to buy expensive security software, or they have to really know what they're doing with their computer. But for me, the thing is, I like giving 3 tips. For me, if I give more than 3, even I get confused. There are 3 things that people can do, and it really reduces their risk to pretty much a negligible level. So the first thing is always make sure that your computer is being updated. Every program nowadays, you can set a little check mark and it'll update automatically. It's sort of like making sure you get your vaccinations.
Okay, so why is that important? Why is it important to always stay on top of all updates?
Fair question. So software is imperfect, just like humans.
Because it's created by humans.
It's created by humans, so
yeah.
by itself it cannot be perfect. So basically what happens is there are these things called vulnerabilities. So basically holes or flaws in software which at the time of production wasn't obvious, or even time of testing. And basically what those holes allow people to do, so cyber criminals to do, is basically gain entry into a program, and then through that program gain entry to someone's computer. So basically these things called patches, basically if you want to think about it physically, they get sewn onto the software, and it fixes that hole so someone can't come in through that software. So that's why it's really important. They come out frequently. Companies are always testing for new holes. So it's something which, if you just sort of like set it and forget it, it'll be updated.
Okay, but I'm sure that there's people like me who go, another update. No, I don't have time for it to update. I got to be using the computer later. Forget this version. I'll wait for another time.
Yeah.
And I guess in doing so, I'm asking for trouble.
For sure, and it's becoming a difficult paradigm shift, and that's why you're seeing a lot of applications, a lot of companies trying to do it in the background. They've realized the whole model of, okay, let's ask the user, okay, now it's time to patch. It isn't a good approach.
So that it won't interfere with your ability to use the computer?
Exactly, right? You want to make sure that the user experience is still as good as possible.
Because I remember one time I was all prepared to go make a very important presentation. I had it all on my laptop. I'm there in the client's office, and I open it up, and the operating system decided that it was going to upgrade in that moment. I wanted to throw the computer out the window because it never upgraded fast enough. The guy goes, well, see you later.
Yeah.
I lost the deal. And so I get frustrated around that kind of thing.
For sure, and we've all been there. I mean, I know I've given presentations at work where you see that reminder, remind me again in 10 minutes, 90 minutes, 6 hours for the update to conclude. It keeps popping up throughout the presentation. And it's definitely something, like I said, it's had a negative user experience, and it's basically led to people really not really listening to the fact that patches are important. So we've done ourselves a disservice in that way.
Because the other component of that is I don't want to leave my computer on overnight. I keep being told by the electric company that's a waste of energy, and I listen to them and I go, good idea.
Yeah, for sure. No, and that's what makes it so confusing, is that you have people, like I said, or like you're saying there, you have Hydro telling you to make sure all your devices are powered up when you're not using them, and then you have your computer provider saying, well, you got to leave it on because we have to keep it updated. So it's like people are like, okay, well, who am I supposed to listen to here, right? It's confusing, and that's, like I said, the computer industry as a whole really got that approach wrong, and sort of what we're going to have to do is undo this 20 plus years of how updates and patches have been applied, and try and take a new age approach to it, because it's like Einstein's old adage, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, then you can't expect different results, because if you expect different results, that's insanity, and that's sort of what we're seeing right now.
So there's one other part of this that makes me every now and then go, and that is I do an update, then all of a sudden other programs aren't talking to my computer any longer. But if we don't do it, we're highly vulnerable. Now, you said something a little bit earlier that I didn't realize. You're saying it can be a hole in a single program. That program can be the gateway into the rest of my computer.
Yeah.
That I have no way of knowing. That's scary.
Absolutely. And
Because it's like they're not coming through the front door, they're not knocking, ringing the doorbell, nothing. They're sneaking in through something that I would go, oh my God.
and the sort of the caveat at that point in which not all holes or all vulnerabilities are created equal. If you look at the statistics showing how attackers have gotten into computers, they have their favorites. So sort of ubiquitous software like Java or Flash, software that really isn't patched very well, attackers are really focusing on those. Microsoft products like your Windows operating system or Office, back in the day, 15 plus years ago, every attacker was going after it because they weren't patched well. But the thing is, Microsoft has done a pretty good job of getting everything updated, and for the most part, most people have those updated. So from the point of view of an attacker, they're like, okay, well, if I know 80+% of Microsoft products are protected, I'm not going to spend all my time and energy on them. I'm going to focus on applications which are still just as widespread, but are nowhere near as well protected, like Java. So that's why you're seeing all these exploits are going towards things like Java and not so much Microsoft products.
Got to get you to hang on here for just a second while we take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Conversations That Matter is a not-for-profit program made possible thanks to the charitable support of the following and from viewers like you. Please visit conversationsthatmatter.tv and help us to continue to produce this program. Thank you. I can go take a look at the library of my computer or applications, and I'll look at things and I'll go, I have no idea what the heck that is. So how do I even know whether or not it's vulnerable? How do I know whether or not there was ever a patch sent out on that?
That's a great question, and like I said, it's hard for the average person, even for me. Like, I'll go through my computer and be like, what the heck is that? I have a background in computer science. I don't know. Like, sometimes like, what is that? So that's why, like I said, it's really focused on those what I'll call critical applications. Making sure that your operating systems like Microsoft, your big things like Office, your web browser, so whether you're running Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, those are your big ticket things. So those can all be set to automatically update. Focus on those. Some of those one-off applications that you download, the market share of those are generally lower, so attackers don't focus on those. Attackers they're brilliant in which they're really focused on economics. They go where the money is. So they focus all their attention on big market share products. So like I said, focus on, even if it's just your top 5 applications, focus on making sure those stay updated.
What are the other ways that, or things that I need to do?
Number 2 is use a password manager. We have, and again, this is another thing in which the computer industry has screwed us all horribly over the past 20 years, in which it's a broken model. I don't think at the time when passwords were introduced, I mean, passwords go back at least 30 plus years, that someone envisioned it scaling to the fact that you have to know a password for Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, your corporate applications, your personal email, your...
to name just a few.
Just to name a few. Right.
Let alone just logging on and unlocking the screen.
There you go. There you go. It's become so in depth that it's really, really difficult for people to keep track of. And in fact, studies show that most people can only keep track of 5 passwords. I know myself; I can only keep track of 3. So that's where using that.
Well, then I look and I go, oh, okay, which one did I use?
And what happens is people use the same password.
Yeah,
and then,
because it's easier.
And we can't fault them for that. And I know I've been guilty of that too. And the thing is, what's happening is that if a certain application gets breached and attackers say, okay, we know the passwords for here, they'll try on other popular applications because they know that people reuse their username and password. So using what's called a password manager, so something like LastPass, basically what it does is you only have to remember one long password, which is quite secure. And then once you log in, it will automatically fill in to whatever application or process or whatever you're trying to do. It's like a password vault. You just need to know the master key. Rather than needing to know 100, you just need to know 1.
Okay, that's if you only work off of one computer.
No, it's transportable.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's absolutely transportable, right? So whether that be on a USB stick or whether it be using it on your phone, it's completely transportable, and that's the beauty of
I've
it.
seen these things and I go, yeah, right, and haven't given them a try. But you say it's worth it.
Absolutely, and I mean, there are people who do use computers regularly who will be able to use it right off the bat. There'd be some other people like my mom who might need some help with it. But the thing is, just some basic training, some basic know-how. It really does reduce the reliance on passwords and allows people to sort of take back some control and make the life easier for them. Again, that being said, computer industry, they still need to really move forward, and passwords are just so enmeshed in everything we do. Online banking, like I always find it funny that my online banking uses sort of like the same password structure that's used to just get on to my fantasy sports. I find that bizarre, right?
Yeah.
So the whole industry as a whole needs to move forward and say, how can we move past passwords? And that's what people really need to start clamoring for, saying we need to see better security from you.
Number 3.
Number 3 is the fact that with nowadays, everyone has more than one mobile device, whether it be a laptop, a personal phone, an iPad, or some other tablet. Number 3 is basically have a special device in which you do your online banking or anything that's sensitive. You don't want to be doing the thing that you use for internet surfing, or that you allow your teenage boy to use for whatever teenage boys get up to online. Reason being is,
Or daughter.
for that matter. For that matter. Again, like I said, the reason being is that general surfing, when you're doing general surfing, there's a higher risk that comes with that. And generally anything that comes with a higher risk, they're looking for sensitive applications. So if you go to a website and let's say there's some sort of virus on there, generally most viruses today are programmed to look for banking passwords or banking credentials or things of a sensitive nature.
This is our second of 3 breaks. I've got to get you to hang on for just a moment. It's a very interesting topic. We'll be right back. Conversations That Matter is a not-for-profit program made possible thanks to the charitable support of the following and from viewers like you. Please visit conversationsthatmatter.tv and help us to continue to produce this program. Thank you. Just by visiting a website, you may be inviting a virus into your computer that's now going to start scouring your information.
Absolutely. And I know that it seems scary, and it is. It keeps me up at night, and that's probably caused me to grade prematurely. But it's definitely an issue. And that's, like I said, 15 years ago, most people only had one device. So it was difficult to separate the two. But today, your average family has, I believe, at least 3 devices.
Yeah.
So just setting aside one device to just do, like I said, your online banking or whatever sensitive stuff you need to do it only on that machine, because then that really reduces your risk.
So that brings up, we go to coffee shops, we go to restaurants, we go to so many different places, and there is now public Wi-Fi.
Free Wi-Fi.
And we're all going, and in we go. How dangerous is that? How fraught is that with the potential for cyber breaches?
It's really a bit of a hornet's nest right now, in which people is like, ooh, free Wi-Fi, and they'll just do everything on it. It's again, depending on the size of your city, there's obviously greater risks. Like in New York City, free Wi-Fi is actually quite dangerous. You're quite likely to get something hacked or something.
Yeah.
In Vancouver, I haven't seen it too much. Again, we're nowhere on the same scale as New York, but that isn't to say that we shouldn't take the same cautious approaches. And if you're using free Wi-Fi, nothing wrong with doing your general browsing, checking sports scores, checking news, business, whatever. I would generally, as a rule of thumb, I would suggest staying away from sensitive applications like your email or online banking. If you have to, it's okay. Don't feel like, okay, I'm now compromising myself.
Did you just say email is a sensitive application?
Yes. Reason why email is a sensitive application is most of your sensitive applications tie back to your email, like your online banking. If you need to reset your online banking, it generally will tie back to your email. Your email is sort of like your heart, in which everything ties back to that. That's why email is considered a sensitive application.
So don't go checking your email when you're in public places.
If you're using public Wi-Fi, I would suggest not to.
But what if I'm using like my data link from a mobile device?
That's different. So your data link is what's called encrypted. So there's strong encryption. So basically, someone from the outside can't look at it. The problem with free Wi-Fi is that it's sort of like this group setting, which depending on what the settings are, someone may be able to look in to all the conversations that are going in. Sort of like if someone was just sitting in here, what you and I are saying isn't being said in code. But if there's someone outside the door, they wouldn't be able to hear what we're saying.
So is that really easy for them to do if you're in that public environment?
It really comes down to how the free Wi-Fi was set up. And the thing is, it's so easy to set up free Wi-Fi with bad security that you just don't know. A lot of the bigger companies, you can probably take some faith in it, like Starbucks or Shaw or TELUS. They know what's at stake with that. They have large IT teams. They have large security teams. They'll go through some sort of due diligence to make it as secure as possible. But if you're somewhere else and it's like your local coffee shop has free Wi-Fi, you don't know because it was just one person who set it up. There wasn't a big company behind it.
Right.
So there's that different risk profile there.
I don't want to stop talking about it at the moment, but unfortunately I've got an obligation to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Conversations That Matter is a not-for-profit program made possible thanks to the charitable support of the following and from viewers like you. Please visit conversationsthatmatter.tv and help us to continue to produce this program. Thank you. As an individual, I sort of go, I don't have the resources to fight this.
Right. If you do.
I look at big companies. I was just reading about a hospital in the Los Angeles area that got hacked.
Yeah.
And they decided that they were better off paying a ransom than trying to rebuild.
Yeah.
So, and this is becoming a trend.
Absolutely.
Even for the big guys. So what do you do? So as an individual, you go, But small businesses are equally vulnerable. And are there special things that a small business can do?
And that's a great question. And like you're saying there, the big companies have the resources to deal with it and to fight it. And so what you're seeing is with cyber criminals and attackers, they're not going after the big guys anymore because it's like going after an armed fortress.
It's too much work.
It's too much work and too expensive. But what they realize is that in the hyper-connected global economy, that the smaller businesses, they provide a great leeway into that supply chain or to that stream in which they can probably still get to that big fish, or even something like a smaller hospital in the case of that story there, where they don't have those the same resources. And what's happening is that small and mid-sized businesses are being hit really, really hard. In fact, for last year, for 2015, over 40% of all cyber attacks were focused on small and mid-sized businesses.
And they're not just going in being malicious saying, here, I'm going to mess with your computer.
No.
Like they're doing it for a financial gain.
They're doing it for financial gain, right? Every business, whether it be like that small shop, medium shop, they have sensitive employee information, whether that be social insurance numbers, it could be banking information, it could be sensitive information that they have with other trading partners. Everything can be monetized nowadays, and that's something which I've really tried to communicate to business owners in the local Vancouver area, in which they need to wake up to it, and it need not be something expensive. They don't need to have a security team. They don't need to have the latest and greatest security technologies. They just need to have a good understanding of where is the sensitive data that we hold, do we need to hold it, and what are some best practices? Again, like the ones I laid out, they're just some simple basic things that most businesses can do that would really lower the risk.
So is there also value in a small business in keeping some of that very valuable and important information offline?
Yes.
So that it's on a external hard drive that gets disconnected from your computer and is only hooked up when you need it.
For sure, exactly. And it's about having those conversations. It's saying, it's being cognizant of what information are we taking from our customers, from the people who trust us, and we're obviously trying to preserve this trust. Okay, do we need this on a day-to-day basis when we're interacting, or is it something we just need to take one time and we can, like you said, have an off-site backup and there's no chance of us losing it or having it destroyed or it being held for ransom? It's just having those conversations, and it's difficult because small business owners are really focused on growing their business. They don't see that. They're like, that's
right.
just, we just that's whatever.
It's a tool that I use.
It's a
and,
tool.
I don't want to think about it. I just want it to work.
Exactly, and that's what we're trying to do is have those conversations and help them realize that if something happens to that's now something that can literally kill their business. The big businesses like Target or Staples or Home Depot, the ones that have been breached, they can withstand the data breach, right? But a small company, that's why you never see small companies in the news from a data breach perspective, because they just end up disappearing.
Well, and nobody covers it.
And no one covers
so
it.
a company of 5 people went out of business.
It's not a story. And it's sort of it's like this silent killer, this myth that people aren't aware of. There are so many businesses going out because of data breaches, and it's not being covered.
Okay, this seems like a low-tech solution, but should small businesses turn off their computers at night if they can?
Yes and no. It's tough to say. It really depends how many devices they have, what kind of setup they have. For me, like I said, the most important thing that a small business can do is have a conversation. Bring in someone, again, not a technical person. Bring in someone who understands business and who understands that security perspective of, okay, this is the data, this is the flow of how it moves, and this is some low-cost measures we can do. Because if you bring in a technical guy, he's just going to say, oh, buy that security solution.
Okay, but a security solution would be a firewall, and that is something that is available to small businesses, especially because if you're networking between a few computers and you're going through some kind of hub, there is value in having a firewall.
Absolutely. And for me, like I said, if to do security well, it's not, because for me, security, the problem isn't technology, so technology can't be the solution. What the solution is, it's sort of like this triage, this triad of technology, process, and people. You have to do all 3 things well to solve the security problem.
So one last thing before we run out of time.
Yeah.
Small companies, people come and go.
Yes.
And when they leave, frequently they'll leave email addresses active.
Yes.
How important is that you get rid of those?
It's even large businesses do a really bad job of offboarding former employees, and they leave all that access that those people had. That is something that's really, really important, because that's something that cyber criminals will look for. They'll look for accounts which haven't been used, and they're able to see that. They're like, okay, well, here's an existing account. It can pretty much access everything in the network, and it doesn't look like it's been used in a while, so we'll just do some stuff here, and we'll see if anyone notices it. If they see no one notices it, they'll just keep doing it a little bit more, and then they'll slowly take out information. And it's exactly like we were talking about.
And then they can assume your identity or the identity of that employee.
Exactly, and then what happens is that you have no way of knowing what happened. And most small businesses, they don't have a dedicated team. There's no one monitoring the logs. There's no one monitoring. Okay, this is the data flowing into the company, the data flowing out. There's no one checking that. It's sort of unchecked, and it's a silent killer.
Yeah. So pay attention to work, and I guess, I'm going to plug what you do.
Yeah.
There's value in reaching out to someone like you, because I'm sure that it doesn't take much.
It doesn't, and then, like I said, you need to reach out to the right person. You don't want to reach out to that snake oil salesman and say, oh, just buy the latest and greatest. It's about having conversations and having discussions and understanding what's at risk at your company, and putting in appropriate controls in place, obviously at a cost-effective manner. You're not going to spend $100,000 if your business is only worth $20,000.
Right.
So
this is a topic that's deep and one that's worth exploring.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.